Well, hello, hello. Hey, there's Ron.
Hey, I'm here.
How are you
I'm
doing
just
today,
making
Ron?
sure all my notifications are off.
Yeah, me too. And I'm trying to make sure that I've got my settings right so I'm not getting the feedback. Was that feedback coming from my computer?
We're good. Yeah, it was just leading up to the thing. We're good. We're on.
All right.
Hey, Aaron, how are you doing today?
Life is good. It's a beautiful time of year here in Kentucky, and I'm loving having the windows open with a cool breeze and nice sunshine coming through.
Well, it's Thursday afternoon. You can tell because here we are. We are the team for U.S. term limits. Ken Quinn couldn't be here today. He's off on assignment, a super secret assignment, which I have no idea what is. And so,
Is it the secret?
It's
yeah,
not secret.
he's got a lot on his plate right now. So he's going to be traveling next week and probably won't be on with us again next week. But we're here. My name's Ken Clark. I'm the regional director for the Southern States, going from Louisiana all the way to Virginia, West Virginia, everything in between. So that keeps me very busy. And so, Ron, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ron Hooper, the Western states, everything west of Texas, and that's my area. So if you live in that area, reach out and say hello.
Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Duquette, and I do a lot of my home base, I guess you'd say, is in the southern Appalachia, out in Kentucky where I am, and in West Virginia, where we have quite a bit of commotion going on, and so it's always a pleasure to jump into the fray and be pushing for this.
Before Aaron, you start giving a rundown on what's going on. How do you? I've always wondered about your. You don't really have a title because you're not limited to any one thing. I mean, how do you tell people what you do? I mean, because you do it all.
I don't know. I've kind of thought about that, and I said, my job description is real simple, and let's get term limits on Congress, and so whatever that looks like, uh, we'll do it. And so
So
remains
Grandmaster
to be
Poobah,
seen. Yeah, tell me after we get term limits on Congress, we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah,
so Grand,
it
so
just
Grandmaster Poobah is not good enough.
Congressional term limits generalist. Who
There
cares?
you go.
Yeah, just get the job done. We got to get things done here, and we have to stand up like so many of our volunteers are nationally to get this done. And I can tell you right now from experience, so many of them, they're willing to do whatever it takes to. So here
Well,
we go.
and in that
Hey,
vein, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown on what's going on in Kentucky, West Virginia, especially West Virginia? There's a lot happening. You teased that a little bit, so
Yeah, sure. So Ken, I'm gonna have to make you go away just for a moment. Okay, we promise you can come back. So give me
all
one
right,
second.
well, all right. As long as you
You'll be back. All right. So I wanted to pull this up here. So this number 120, you might be wondering why am I bringing that up? I'm starting with West Virginia. We're doing wrapping up our outreach to candidates that are running for the state legislature in West Virginia this year. Of course, we've been working on West Virginia the last couple sessions, so heading into our third session to get it done. Long and very dramatic and colorful stories. Both sessions, we have passed West Virginia, just the two different chambers in 2 different years. So we're putting it all together this year. But this 120 plus, this actually stands for the number of pledge signers who are running for the state legislature in West Virginia alone this fall. So it's really incredible. That's approximately half of all candidates that are running. It's really something else. West Virginia is really stepping up to the plate. We have many, 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 many members of both parties that are seeing like things are screwed up in DC. Enough of this, and it's just really inspiring to see that we have a heavy presence for this issue in Charleston, and we will get this done next session. So really kind of excited to that, and just wanted to kind of bring that home. For volunteers or prospective volunteers who are watching here, this 120 message here. This could be you. You can help us out. We have some new volunteers. There's one in New York that knocked a couple pledges in. Every pledge helps. Every pledge is an assured vote in the legislature, in the state that you're working in. And sometimes if we just have a small handful of pledges, that's enough to get us a foothold. And that's a huge step up. The biggest thing is getting the foot in the door. And so we have many feet in the door now in West Virginia. And, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts with a few, and then it starts with the first 20 and 40 and so forth. So it's really exploded. I'm very proud of the team. I'm proud of West Virginia, what they're doing. They have a lot of good sense in them. So that's a little update on West Virginia. Why don't we close this out and get Ken back in before I talk about Kentucky? Here he comes. And hello, Ken.
Hello. So that's really exciting. And so I think West Virginia is really on course to pass in the upcoming session. When's that session start? February?
It's looking like February, and they're figuring out with the COVID-19 situation and everything how that's going to look, how and when and if committees will meet, if they'll have any kind of remote legislation going on. But the beginning of February, they're electing their governor this year, so they give a month for the governor to get settled in. And,
it's interesting, and I know, Ron, you're experiencing this. Aaron, you're experiencing this because you're involved in all these states. Normally, legislative session for most states starts first or second week of January. That isn't happening this year, and it's still, in a lot of cases, up in the air. Now, there are a couple states that start later, Mississippi, Louisiana, but, and other, like Ohio's got a year-round legislature. So, but this year, it's going to be very different. It's going to be very taxing, I think. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to manage what we're going to have on our plate because so much is up in the air, and we're going to be having to learn on the fly. So we really need your help. We really do. And we need everybody who's watching us now and can hear the sound of our voices to get involved, because without you, we're never going to be successful. So, Ron, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I sure do. We're going to reach out to some of you. I mean, there's two important things that our volunteers can do. Number one, the viral growth of our grassroots, and that's just reaching out to your friends and family, like our social media stuff. Comment on it, share it with your friends and family. That viral growth is really how we're growing. And by the way, we're having explosive growth. This is a very timely voter initiative right now. I was talking to one of our legislators this morning. We've nearly doubled the size of his state with supporters in the last year. It's just fast. And so one area is that, just friends and family reaching out, liking, sharing, getting involved in our social media platform, because that's where a lot of people come from. Number two, some of you that maybe have a little bent, we want you to adopt your local legislator, your state legislators. We want to ask some of you to start to do exactly what Ken and Aaron were talking about, where you really reach out to your local legislator and develop a relationship with them. Have them sign our pledge, reach out to them on a regular basis and talk to them about the U.S. term limits. Those things are very, very effective, and we really, our volunteers do a great job, and we know that's why. In fact, just recently, we've all of a sudden now had a lot of legislators that we were reaching out to them to sign pledge through our very effective pledge team. And now all of a sudden they're getting close to the end of the campaign, and they're realizing, hey, my voters really care about this, and they're now calling us up and saying, hey, I got that pledge ready.
Yeah, that's really, really important, especially now going into the legislative session. I mean, it really, really is. And so, especially like Aaron, what you had talked about in West Virginia, getting the constituents to call their candidates, to call the people after. We're 2 weeks out from the election, right? Basically, just under 2 weeks, or just under 3 weeks. So 2.5 weeks. And now's the time. I mean, we have to get these candidates on board and on record so that the people that are voting for them know where they stand. This is a critical issue. It's got 82% approval rating nationwide. Doesn't matter what the party is. That's what the approval rating is. So we need to get it done now. After the election, once these people have won, it becomes much more difficult to get in touch with them, to get them on record. I hate to say it, it just is what it is. Once they've already won the election, they don't care about you anymore. So now is the time. I mean, I hate to be so callous, but it's true, right? I mean,
we see it.
Yeah. So what have you got going, Aaron? Two things. number one, Kentucky. Number two, how would a whole host of new volunteers coming in help you?
Well, yeah, aren't those the question? Yeah, I think we've got a lot of buzz going on in Kentucky. Kentucky has been a hard effort, and I'll just speak plainly. Part of that issue is the influence of Mitch McConnell, who is one of sort of the poster children for term limits, along with Nancy Pelosi, all the others. Take your pick. That have been in Congress for so long and really need to go. And he is staunchly against term limits. The guy, we have video of him. He introduced, an amendment to repeal presidential term limits in '95. The guy seriously hates term limits, and so we're kind of up against that because he is a very powerful guy. He's probably the most powerful guy in Washington, rivaling the power of the presidency, and so it's an uphill battle. So a slow couple years of chipping away at it. We've really exploded this year, and we have a few very passionate people on both sides of the aisle. I'm very, very happy to report, as of today, we have an exactly even number of Democrats and Republican pledge signers in Kentucky, and this is the very definition of a bipartisan, nonpartisan effort, because the corruption is a bipartisan problem in DC. And so we've been pushing for that and really expanding our pledge signers. We have many, many more pledge signers now than we did at the beginning of the year. And our presence is being felt, and both parties are starting to take notice. The leadership of both parties are starting to take notice, and we're gearing up to go to battle. So that's where you come in to get involved. In Kentucky or wherever you live, we're going to be active everywhere, and we need help everywhere. It's real simple. Go to termlimits.com. I'll throw it down on the sort of tracker at the bottom of this video in a second. Termlimits.com/video.
Put it up there.
Yep, /volunteer. Or just go to termlimits.com. You'll see it. And you can sign up. Once you put in the form where you live, it'll identify, and it'll thread it to the right person on the team to get you started. And we'll talk to you. It'll be a state-by-state basis. Some states, we're just getting started and say, hey, let's build around you. In other states, we have a team built already, and you can jump right into the fray. So.
Yeah, and it really is all over the board. In some places, we've got a lot going on, and it's terrific. And other places, we just, we don't have the manpower we need to do it all on our own. That's why every time we're on these calls, we beg you guys to help us and to join us and join us in our effort. Ron, I know you've done a great job in building a volunteer team, but we still need help, right?
Oh boy, and it's amazing what the difference make. And I want to call out to our new state director in Idaho. And he has just put together a quick organization. He's already started to reach out to his state legislators and developing a whip count on U.S. term limits. I'm just really proud of the quick start that they've done. His partner Mike, and of course Sandy's help. We've had a lot of people that have encouraged us in Idaho, but now they've really stepped up and taken a leadership role, and we're really proud of that group and good job. And we expect a lot of exciting things. They put together a roadmap on how to get there, and so these guys are really just doing a great job. The local, we can do all we can do from a national standpoint, but when we have local leadership and direction, it's just lighting a fire to this. It makes all the difference. Same thing in California. I want to reach out to Rand Tanner and Connie Belize and their team. They've been working, and he's really developed. And that's a tough state, but it's our fastest growing state in the union for U.S. term limits. They're aggravating somebody over there. And so all of a sudden now, that state is just exploding, and we're getting volunteers and area district coordinators. This adopt your local legislator idea of just wrapping our arms around an area or a district and really getting to know what's happening there. And I got to speak about Arizona too. Arizona is on fire. It's one of those states. Good job, Jim Levy and his team. We've reached out, and of course, I think we have got one of. I should have been prepared today, Aaron. I'm real pleased with the numbers, but we're getting pretty close in Arizona with those numbers. And again,
Awesome.
Bipartisan. The new poll for Arizona really showed the biggest increase. We're always popular with Republicans, but our biggest increase is with Democrats and independents by nearly 5%. And so we're seeing the really impact of that in Arizona. We're getting pledges from both sides of the fence. And of course, I got to talk about Utah. We have really been able to impact the races in Utah, thanks to the leadership of Ian Phillips, our state director there. We've really backed a couple races there that we have really been helpful in, and they were early supporters of U.S. term limits. So we want to call out to them, and that's another state. We're getting both sides of the aisle in pledges in that. Have I forgot anybody working? We got a bunch of other folks. We need some help in New Mexico. We need some help in Nevada. But geez, we sure appreciate your effort. It makes all the difference in local volunteers.
Amen to that, brother. And we've got Kim McFarland, who's new and getting it done in Tennessee. We've got others out there, maybe a new one in Texas. We'll see how that pans out. So, they're coming on. They're coming on. So we just need more of them.
Oh, I forgot Dana George in Washington.
Oh,
so
there. You can't forget.
Call out to Dana. I want to make sure that we don't, and again, steady, moving forward, very active social media there. He has really wrapped his arms around getting his supporters to like, comment, share, and that's where our growth in Washington State is coming from. Good job, Dana.
There you go. Aaron, what else you got?
Well, as we wrap up, I think I have a video clip that I can play as we finished talking. You and I, 2 weeks ago now already?
Yeah, we were in Kentucky.
Ken took a short ride up from South Carolina and came to my neck of the woods here. We went to Berea, Kentucky, and held a panel discussion with two of our pledge centers that are local to the area of Berea, and had a nice little conversation for an hour there about term limits and about Article 5 and about how we're going to get this done. Really underscored the bipartisan nature of this. There's a ton of support in Eastern Kentucky, and I'm really happy to see that all around me. So we had a nice conversation. We recorded that and broadcasted that on the Kentucky Term Limits Facebook page if you want to go back through and look. Had a really good, just intelligent conversation about all the issue and how the impact we might see on congressional term limits on just the culture and the tenor of our political discourse. It was just a good conversation. So I thought I'd show a clip of that as we're going out. We have an extremely gung ho guy here by the name of Mike Van Winkle. I want to give him a shout out here. That dude has been going around every stop on his campaign. He's bringing up term limits first and talking about how he wants to go here to make some real change. And he is pushing back. He's pushing back on, some people, all around him that might be saying, well, we don't need term limits. Like, yes, we do need term limits. And the people are behind this. In Kentucky, the polls at 84%. And so he's really kind of sticking his neck out. And we've needed that guy here in Kentucky to be the one to stick his neck out because the others are following, and it's really cool to see that. So shout out to Mike. We'll play a little bit of what he had to say toward the end here.
Well, I'm ready to roll. If you want to go ahead and play it, that'd be good.
All right.
Play us on out.
Hey,
okay.
And thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks all.
We need your help. Go to our website, termlimits.com, and please join us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Enemy. Our neighbors are not our enemy, right? Unless we have a personal little tip quick for them or something. But that's not the case, right? Generally speaking, we're kind of being trained and conditioned into thinking that we go out to war with anyone that has an R next to the name or a D next to the name, right? And so, it's misleading us. Who profits from that? The D's and R's in Congress. Right, working together. So I like to say that they're bipartisan in all of the wrong ways, and partisan in all of the wrong ways. So with this aspect of money, there's another reform that comes up that also has a lot of bipartisan support out there that often comes up in these discussions about term limits. And that reform is campaign finance reform. It has a lot of overlap in bipartisan support. The Republicans and Democrats that have brought this issue up many times over the years. What impact would you suppose term limits might have on campaign finance issues of money? You like to jump in on that? Sure, Mike.
I think the first thing when you talk about PAC money, okay, to me, I look at it as if the PAC's looking at a candidate as a product, okay, and once they have decided this is the product that they are going to back or support or promote, then that unevenly levels the playing field, okay, because once you have a person in Congress for so long, it becomes almost impossible to get them out. I mean, I've looked at the data, and it's alarming because, how many people of color, how many women, how many first-time candidates, when they literally filed to run, just basically had no chance, zero chance of winning. We in Kentucky have a very unpopular senator. He's been in Congress, I think I was 9 years old when he was first elected. So I really don't remember anybody but Mitch McConnell. But, he's not the only one. I mean, there are other people from other states, and I remember Senator Byrd from West Virginia. How long was he in for? The problem is those people are career politicians. And I think we need to change that focus from career politician back to citizen legislator. And I have self-imposed 2 terms on myself. And it's not because I don't want to represent the district, it's because that I think that after a certain amount of time, and having that power for that amount of time, it begins to affect your judgment and how you look at the system, okay? Because at that point, you want to change from changing the system to sustaining that system, okay? And I think that's where U.S. term limits is going to be effective in changing the political landscape.
And I would just add, and I think Mike's right, I would say simply that longevity seems to promote longevity, and it promotes, we have an unusual situation in Kentucky. We have a Democratic candidate for the Senate who has amassed a considerable campaign war chest, but the typical situation is a candidate who's been in office for decades builds up such a line of both financial support and other support that they become, it becomes uncontestable. I mean, that person becomes bulletproof simply as a result of their longevity. So I think term limits decreases the effect of money on that particular candidate because we all know that clock is going to run out.
The amount of money that it takes for a challenger to go up against an incumbent in Congress is extreme. A typical race is anywhere from $1.2 to $2.2 million just to create the name recognition to become competitive against an incumbent. That's just to open the door. That is not about how much money it takes to win. That's just to get your name recognition up there. Then an incumbent politician has so many advantages that it's hard to list them all. They can get on television, they can get press anytime they want just by picking up the phone. They have the ability to send out campaign style mailers to their district unlimited amount of times, and it's paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. So they get all these benefits of being an incumbent. If they're an incumbent and they're towing the party line, it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat, and they're in trouble, you can bet Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi are going to be funneling a boatload of money into that incumbent's campaign to make sure that they win. And they can flood the market with any kind of propaganda they want to. A challenger does not have the ability to do that. Very few special interests are going to get involved with a challenger. But the incumbent, no matter again about party, already has those special interests lined up. If it's a Republican, they've got certain special interests. If it's a Democrat, they've got certain special interests. And if that candidate's in trouble, the money starts flowing in, making it next to impossible to oust an incumbent. So when you talk about campaign finance, that has to come from Congress. Does Congress, you think they're going to do anything to limit their own ability to spend? You think they're going to do anything to limit their own ability to have a decisive advantage in a campaign? Of course not. 94% is the reelection rate for Congress. What is it, 13% is the approval rating?
On good days.
On a good day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be, right now, it could be as low as 8%. But the current breed of congressman and senator in Washington, D.C. will never, and I mean never, do anything to fight campaign finance. Term limits will bring in a new breed of politician, of citizen legislature, if you will, that will have the guts to take this on. And also, term limits, because we have an 82% national rating or approval rating, it will prove the power of Article 5. So the people will be able to implement campaign finance as a substitute for Congress. So we can do it. There are a whole host of things that can happen once we know that we can do it ourselves.